Hey guys, what's up? It's Krim and welcome to this new style of video, the deep dive, where today's topic will be the usage of the Subtlety Rogue's cooldowns and how to maximize their potential. The number one feedback I receive by a country mile from you guys is that you all enjoy the short and to the point style of my videos. And while you'll probably get 90 to 95% of the information in those videos, there's always a chance that you miss out on a bit of nuance and depth. So with this type of deep dive video, I want to give you guys the opportunity to really expand on your knowledge of the class without me having to lengthen and fluffen up the other type of videos. So without further ado, and let's get straight to the point, here is the Subtlety Rogue cooldowns deep dive. The key to maximizing your Subtlety Rogue's potential is going to very much hinge on your ability to maximize the potential of its cooldowns, and Subtlety has three major ones. Shadow Blades is the 3-minute cooldown, Symbols of Death a 30-second cooldown, and Shadow Dance a variable cooldown depending on how many combo points you spend and which talents you play. You want to try and use these cooldowns as often as possible, of course, and you want to try and stack them where possible, which in practice is going to lead to one of three situations. The first of those is having Shadow Blades, Symbols of Death, and Shadow Dance active at the same time. The second situation is having Symbols of Death and Shadow Dance active at the same time, and the last situation, if you do play the Enveloping Shadows talent, is going to be just Shadow Dance by itself. So let's focus first on the first situation, which relies on the cooldown of Shadow Blades, which is 3 minutes. This won't occur very often, so let's take a look at Shadow Blades by itself and how it changes playstyle, if at all. Shadow Blades increases the damage that your combo point generators do by 50% as shadow damage, and it makes your combo point generators give you an additional combo point. Because in practice you will be stacking this with Shadow Dance, it means that even 2 Shadow Strikes are going to fill up your combo point bar, even if you do play the deeper Stratagem talent. And in AoE, Shuriken Storm is going to get you to max combo points much quicker than it would without the extra combo point. In practice, this is not going to change your playstyle too much, so let's move on to the next possible situation. The next possible situation is having Symbols of Death and Shadow Dance stacked together, and this one revolves around the cooldown of Symbols of Death, which is 30 seconds. So let's have a look at this spell. Whenever you use it, your damage done will be increased by 15% for the next 10 seconds. And when you press the button, you will gain 40 energy instantly, so keep that in mind and try to avoid overcapping energy where possible. Whenever you press the button, it also guarantees a critical strike on your next combo point generator. And because of the new Shadowlands mechanics, whenever a combo point generator crits, it applies a defined weakness debuff to your target for 6 seconds. However, because you want to stack these symbols with Shadow Dance, your combo point generator in single target will be Shadow Strike, which already applies a longer find weakness by itself, so it's not too impactful there. In AoE, however, your Shuriken Storm will now also apply find weakness to all targets that it hits on a crit, and obviously up to the target cap of 8. You don't actually learn this particular interaction until you reach level 56, so it's irrelevant in pre-patch, but super useful in Shadowlands. It is especially useful come Shadowlands because of your new Black Powder finisher, which deals an additional 50% damage as shadow damage on targets with Find Weakness active, so this particular synergy is super useful in AoE. You want to try and maximize the damage that you do in this 10-second Symbols of Death window, so try to avoid having to refresh the likes of Slice and Dice and Rupture inside of this 10 seconds. The last remaining cooldown to talk about is Shadow Dance. You may end up using this by itself if you play the Enveloping Shadows talent, which gives you an extra stack, but it is also part of both other cooldown stacks, so understanding how to maximize the Shadow Dance is also key to maximizing your Subtlety Rogue. Shadow Dance increases the damage you deal by 15% and also allows you the use of stealth abilities. Shadow Dance only lasts for 8 seconds, so you want to make sure all of the globals you use within those 8 seconds are based around dealing damage. This means that you want to try and refresh Rupture and Slice and Dice outside of Shadow Dance, ideally beforehand. Another key to maximizing these globals is to have enough energy to cast all of them. It may be worth pooling a bit of energy before you press the Shadow Dance button. This is slightly less relevant in pre-patch, but once Shadowlands comes around may be more important. The other key in maximizing those globals lies in the second part of the ability, the use of stealth abilities. While Shadow Dance increases all of your damage by 15%, it also upgrades your backstab to Shadow Strike, which is an even bigger increase on top of that. So the key to maximizing Shadow Dance is maximizing the number of Shadow Strike casts that you get within that 8-second window. Ideally, this will look like 2 Shadow Strikes followed by an Eviscerate, followed by 2 Shadow Strikes, followed by another Eviscerate, and another 2 Shadow Strikes, which is often why you will see people go into a Shadow Dance with low combo points. Now, you may think, but 2 Shadow Strikes into Eviscerate, that means 4 combo points, which is not what we should be doing. And this is where the Shadow Techniques passive comes into play. Shadow Techniques has a chance every so many melee swings to give you an extra combo point, and with Slice and Dice active, this means that it will happen every 3 to 4 seconds. The way this works is as follows. For the first 3 melee hits, you will gain absolutely nothing. On the 4th melee hit, there is a 50% chance of getting the extra combo point, and on the 5th melee hit, and this is both main hand and offhand, you will be guaranteed the extra combo point. There are trackers and weak auras for this. I'll probably put one in the description down below. So ideally, you will try and have this proc very early on the first Shadow Strike if possible, which means you'll end up at 5 combo points into an Eviscerate. By the time you have cast your next 2 Shadow Strikes, you will have gained another extra combo point, allowing you another Eviscerate. The ones after that don't really matter because you end with another 2 Shadow Strikes. The next interesting part about Shadow Dance and Shadow Strike is something to do with the Blizzard UI. Whenever you press Shadow Dance, which is of the global cooldown, you should be able to instantly Shadow Strike to make sure you fill all of those globals. However, the Blizzard UI has a slight delay in updating your bars. So if you use the same keybind for Backstab and Shadow Strike just on different bars, this may mean that while you are in Shadow Dance already, the bar hasn't updated quite yet and you will Backstab instead of Shadow Strike, my apologies. Now I will put a macro probably on screen right now, which is a Shadow Dance combined with a Shadow Strike in a single button. You may want to be careful though and maybe unbind this on different buttons as well, because there will be times when if you use Symbols of Death you want to use Shuriken Storm as your first global rather than Shadow Strike. Now you have the keys to dealing as much damage as possible within all of your cooldowns window, so let's take a look at what this looks like in practice. Let's take a look at the opening sequence for the Subtlety Rogue and everything that comes after in relation to the cooldowns. I open with a Shadow Strike here from Stealth and spend my first combo points on a short Rupture rather than Slice and Dice because I'm playing the Premeditation talent. I now pop all 3 of my cooldowns and start performing the rotation of Shadow Strikes and Eviscerate. Once the cooldowns end, I refresh my Rupture and once again don't bother with Slice and Dice because I'll be going back into Shadow Dance, which will give me an extra 10 seconds of Slice and Dice. Once this Shadow Dance ends here, I spend a bit of time on refreshing my Slice and Dice on a full combo point one and do the same for the Rupture, sitting on my Symbols of Death for a few seconds to make sure I don't waste my time in Symbols of Death on refreshing Rupture. I then press both Symbols of Death and Shadow Dance and once again go back into using Shadow Strikes into Eviscerate. After this ends, I immediately pop another Shadow Dance because all of my maintenance buffs are up and I go once again into the Shadow Strikes and Eviscerates. Now that both of these have ended, I once again have some time to refresh my maintenance buffs. You can see my Shadow Dance come off cooldown here, I wait a little bit, and once again, once Symbols of Death comes off cooldown, go straight back into it. This will just continue for the remainder of the fight. If you follow a similar sort of pattern, you will probably do just fine. The best tip I have for familiarizing yourself with all these cooldowns and how they work is just as you saw in the footage there, just go to a training dummy and spend some time trying to get to grips with the rotation and how everything interlinks. The second best tip I could probably give you is to subscribe to my channel, and I'll make sure to keep you guys up to date with short guides and deep dives. Also, leave a like on the video if you have enjoyed it. If you think I'm wrong about something, or if you have any more questions, if you have any topics you would like to see on the next deep dive video, leave it down below in the comments. You can also follow me on my stream twitch.tv/crimwow, and I am on Twitter at crim_IRL. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video, I hope it was helpful, and I hope you have a fantastic day. I'll see you guys in the next video.